Hi, everybody, and welcome to Audrey Helps Actors, episode number 4. Today, we're going to be discussing why I stayed in the business, because I have so many of you who are asking me all the time about this business, about its ups and its downs, and always looking for some perspective. And so I thought, well, let me give it to you. The biggest myth is that the career is this thing ahead of you. And what I now understand is the career is all of it. The career is the time in your life when you can't get auditions, and then the time in your life when you can but you can't book, and then the time in your life when you book but you can't book the big stuff. All of that is a part of your career. Also, we discuss whether or not this career gets any easier. No, it gets more fun, I would say. It does get more fun. Like a video game, I think that's such a good analogy because as you get better at the video game, you get a harder level, but the game becomes more fun. I also want to take some time to do a quick shout out to so many of you who have spread and shared this podcast on social media. Mira Max for your great comment on iTunes, Liz Ho, Megan McLeod, Aaron Cathcart, Ellie, you know who you are, Jewel Kohler, Kara Donovan, Mike Horton, Abby McDonald, and Falk Henschel. I'd also like to give you guys a little pep talk about leaving a comment for me on iTunes. So many of you have contacted me personally. I would just love it if I had 10 comments on iTunes just saying how super fantastic this is, so that when it gets shared, people have some reviews to go to. We're also going to start introducing some different segments, things to sort of break it up and make it a little bit more entertaining. One of those things is going to be listener questions. I know so many of you have questions that you'd like to ask me and or my guests. So you can email those questions with the title questions at the heading of your email to audreyhelpsact@gmail.com. Or you can tweet me at audreyhelpsact on Twitter. That's Audrey Helps Act on Twitter with the hashtag AHA question, as in Audrey Helps Actor question. AHA question. So buckle up. This is a lot of Audrey in this episode because, actors, we're self-obsessed, and I'm certainly no exception. Hopefully you find it entertaining and informative. That's always my goal. So enjoy. Me. Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything. Should I introduce myself?
No. I'm the host of this podcast this week. Hi, everyone. This is Jesse Lumen, host of Audrey Helps Actors.
That's not true.
I'd like to introduce my guest this week. Why don't you tell people about yourself?
Hi, I'm Audrey Moore, the actual host of Audrey Helps Actors.
And so I usually produce the podcast, but I'm going to just ask her some questions, so forgive me if I'm not the best interviewer.
Oh, he is the worst. What is it about people behind the camera that they just can't stand it?
We're neurotic.
Oh, you guys are so neurotic.
Really, really neurotic.
You're neurotic. Okay, great. So let's, shall we go?
I think we should go.
Okay, go for it.
How long have you pursued acting?
I did my first play when I was 7 years old. This guy, Aaron, wrote it for my second grade class, and it was called Come Out Cat. And my mom, she came to see it, and she was like, you were so good. I couldn't hear anyone, but I could hear you. Thanks to the attention of my mom, which I feel like I finally sealed, and being really loud, I was there born an actress.
And is that why you've pursued acting?
Probably. Just because I'm loud and I want my parents' love, yes.
In your career now, where are you? Do you audition? How much? Unions, etc.?
I audition a lot. 2015, I averaged 100 auditions for the year. In the first quarter of 2017, I've auditioned 27 times. If I keep that up, that'll average about 108 auditions for the year, which hopefully I don't get to because I'm too busy working.
And do you make enough to support yourself as an actor?
I do make enough to support myself as an actor. I live really frugally, as my friends can attest. I spend my money on acting. I spent a lot of money on my acting career. I'm investing in it constantly.
Just talk a little bit about when you say you spend a lot on acting. What do you mean by that? I know that could be its own podcast. But...
It will be. When I spend a lot on acting, I mean if there's something that I need in the way of a headshot or footage or an outfit or a makeup artist or a hair person or a good haircut. I don't scrimp on that. I have noticed
investment in yourself.
I'm always investing in whatever is needed, and I do that really because I've noticed that it works.
All right, so it sounds like you're doing pretty well overall as an actor.
Yes.
Did you ever get to a point in your life where you thought about quitting acting?
I think about quitting acting all the time.
All the time?
All the time. It is a continual thought process. I think a lot of people think that I am just like so passionate about acting that it never occurs to me to quit. And I always try to tell people that that is super false. The reason I think about quitting is because it's a hard business, but B, I'm really good at things. I'm a really capable person. I'm very talented in many areas.
Humble.
Humble. I'm so humble. And just when people talk about Audrey Moore, they talk about a humble person. And I just think that I could make a lot of money doing a lot of different things. I could have a great career in a lot of different careers. So I'm always checking with myself to make sure that this is the career that I want to be giving my life force to.
What makes you choose this as opposed to...
I just love it. I mean, I love acting. And the other things that I think that I would really enjoy doing aren't fields that I feel like are easier to do. I really enjoy interior design. I think that's a really competitive industry that only a few people make money off of. Also, a lot of the other fields I think about doing, I think it's a lot about serving other people in a way that sort of pisses me off. Like, I think about being an interior designer and having clients that you have to like make happy, and that makes me angry because I think a lot of the people who can afford an interior designer are crappy people. And so the idea of then working for those crappy people, it sounds exhausting to me.
It doesn't feel that way with like crappy producers on crappy commercials?
No, because I feel like we're all fighting a war. Like, and it's the same war. Like, I feel like the people who choose to be actors and show business people are for the most part the people who just love what they do and want to be a part of this cool kids club. I mean, they want to be a part of the magic of show business, and it is a war to get anything made, and they are fighting that fight. And not everyone is quote unquote good at their job all the time, but I'm very forgiving for that. That feels to me like we're on the same team playing a sport, and sometimes some people on your team maybe aren't as good, but they love the sport. Jim Carrey's YouTube speech, if you guys haven't heard his graduation speech, he talks about his father. And there's interviews of his mom saying basically the same thing, which is really beautiful, that if you think Jim Carrey's funny, you should have met his dad. And that he was like the funniest person anyone ever met. And he was a salesman, and he used to knock door to door and sell things. And he did that because he chose the stable life. And he chose the stable life because that's what he thought he had to do. But that at the end, the company folded and he lost everything, and everything he had invested in was for nothing. And so Jim Carrey says in his speech that he realized you can fail either way, so you might as well fail doing the thing that you love. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
That's where it's really important that you love it and that you've really decided it's what you want to do, because I've been very fortunate to have some friends who are a few steps ahead of me in this business and have always been. They got started earlier, they had success earlier, and I watch them go from being a person who got an audition every once in a while to being a person with a series or several series, or, you know, having dream jobs that I would kill for. And they were not any happier. And not only that, I would say, it didn't seem like the business got easier. It's just they had new walls put up. In the beginning, it's like, how do I even get an audition for television? And then you get on an audition, then you're like, how do I ever book? And then you book, and then you're like, how do I ever get an audition for big parts? And you get an audition for big parts. And then you're like, how do I ever book them? And then you book them. And then you're like, how do I get an audition for the actual good big parts? You're always climbing to the next level. And I think the biggest myth is that the career is this thing ahead of you. And what I now understand is the career is all of it. The career is the time in your life when you can't get auditions, and then the time in your life when you can but you can't book, and then the time in your life when you book but you can't book the big stuff. all of that is a part of your career.
Yeah.
It's not just the day when you get rich and famous, which BTW you have to still hold on to. Like, that goes away for people all the time. And if you think it's hard getting famous, try getting famous again, is something I've noticed. I actually had a girl that I worked with, and she said something I thought was so interesting. She said, "Oh, it's like a video game." And I said, "How do you mean?" And she says, "It's like you level up every time. What you think, though, is that level 3 will be easy, but if you're a gamer, you know that's never true. That level 3 becomes harder, and then level 4 becomes harder than that, and you thought that was hard, and then you level up, and they're like, oh my god, things are going so much faster, and the monsters are scarier, and blah, blah, blah. But your threshold for it is better, and your technique is better, and the game of it hopefully gets better. You're excited to play the game, and you beat that level.
What helps you get through those hard times?
Yeah, the walls that I push through. I mean, I would say it depends on the wall, but I tend to know that it's solvable, I guess is what I would say. I mean, I remember when I was doing workshops and I learned all of my friends were getting called in from workshops, but I wasn't getting called in. And so that was just a problem that needed solving, and I knew that it was solvable. And so I just went about solving it.
I remember a time where you felt like you had played through a level and you just weren't leveling up anymore.
Yeah, right.
And you were unhappy about that, and that was giving you a lot of stress. And then at some point...
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a waitress forever is what I had decided. I was just sad. I mean, I hadn't worked for several years. And as an actress. And so I had just decided that I was just maybe going to wait tables forever. And I had to decide if that was going to be okay. And I decided that would be okay. That the pursuit of acting was the thing that I loved, and that I was going to continue to pursue it, and maybe nothing would ever happen from it, and maybe something would, but that I had a really good job actually waiting tables. I made good money. I had health insurance. We were living in Santa Monica, so hard to beat that, and I was in love, still am, and I felt like that's a pretty good life. Like I was already making more money and doing better than I think either of my parents by that age. And sort of objectively speaking, I felt like I could be happy with this life if this life was forever. There is a yoga saying, actually. I'm not like a super yogi, you guys. I've just taken classes. But I had a really good yoga teacher at one point, and when we were in a really difficult pose, she would say, all right, I know a lot of you want to like hop out of this pose because it's painful and it sucks, but I want you to imagine that now you have to be in this pose for the rest of your life. What adjustments can you make in the way you're thinking and the way you're standing there? What adjustments can you make so that that is tolerable to you? And I decided that not only was it tolerable to me, but that it could be really enjoyable. That the pursuit of acting, regardless of the return, in terms of credits, accolades, and finances, was still what my passion was.
I remember seeing a really big change in you when that happened, just in your spirit and your emotions. And if I remember correctly, things started picking up. Well,
part of it is timing. I mean, that was around 2010 when people started working again. That was just like a thing that happened. There were jobs again. But yes, also I was just let go of the idea that my love for the work was dependent upon its results.
And then at some point, you had decided that you were going to leave the restaurant.
Yeah.
And just sort of go out and I'm only going to act now.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast later, you guys, about when it's time to quit your day job. But basically, I had booked commercials consecutively enough, knew that I could probably continue to do that with reasonable expectation. And the nice thing about commercials is you don't have to book a lot of them to make the same amount of money that I was making waiting tables.
I guess what I'm trying to get at with this question is that right after you chose that, it was sort of like another wall. So you decided, okay, now I'm in level 2 or whatever.
Yeah, there was a cap on waiting tables life, is basically what it was. There was a cap. Like I was going to wait tables, and the max I felt like I was ever going to make doing that in a really great place was like 50 to 60 grand a year for a good serving job. And I could continue to do that and try to be an actor, or I could just let it go. And I knew that what I wanted to do was make a bunch of money, not book some commercials and also wait tables sometimes.
But it felt like there was another fork in the road there. After you decided, okay, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, like, all of these things lined up that were like, are you sure?
They talk about that if you guys haven't read The War of Art or read The Alchemist. It's a common thing that happens, basically. It's sort of like a universal weird force that once you make a powerful decision, you're going to get like a lot of things that are like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that? I've seen it happen with people who make a movie, or people who buy a house or have a kid, or any sort of strong decision. So for me, I got like some really bad teeth things that happened that were expensive. I had some bills come in that were unexpected, that were like big, like in the several $1,000s zone. I think something happened with my car too, didn't it? Then suddenly I started making buttloads of money at my job. Like once I decided I was going to quit,
at your waiting job.
My serving job. Once I decided I was going to quit, I went from making like $100 to $200 a night to making like $1,000 a night, $800 a night, $600 a night. Like God was like, "Are you sure you want to quit? Because this is fast, easy, good money, and here's all these bills." And I decided that I was going to, and I knew that I have known enough about life now to know that that's the way it works, is that you get scare tactics first. It's just like when you fall in love with somebody and then all your exes call, right?
Right.
It's like the universe is like, are you sure? And you have to say, yeah, I'm sure.
And is there anything that made that easier?
Only past experience of knowing that that was normal, and having read books about that process as well.
Just list a couple of those books in case.
Like I said, The Alchemist is a fictional version of that. The War of Art talks about it a lot. That when you make a strong, powerful decision, you get a lot of things that tell you, do you want to make that decision?
Well, I think we went over this, but does it get easier?
No, it gets more fun, I would say. It does get more fun.
Yeah, I see that with you of like, I think you constantly have to engage again and say, okay, how am I going to have fun with this part, with this new challenge? Because it gets hard, and it gets, you hit a wall. Yeah,
in the beginning, I mean, when I tell people there wasn't enough chocolate in the world to calm me down from a non-union, non-paying theater audition in New York City that only 30 people were ever going to go see. Now I would walk into that audition like, who wants to give me the lead and the money? Now, auditioning for not even really a series regular, I would say like a particular series regular opposite maybe a particular hero of mine or something like that would really mess me up. But that's fun. Like, that seems really fun. It's just another problem to solve and something I know that I'm going to get past again.
So, do you recommend that people quit?
Yeah. I do. Any job that requires a monumental amount of investment to get into it, and then you get into it and you're like, oh, what? I think that people don't understand that this is one of those jobs because you're not doing it in like a school like fashion like a lawyer would.
Right.
But in order to get to be a working actor, usually the time and money investment is akin to a doctor or a lawyer. And then you find yourself on set a couple times and you're like, this is it? This is what we're doing? I think that's I don't think that's common. I know that that's very common. And I think that people's dreams about what the life they want to live changes. I think when people graduate from college, they think they're going to be like 27 with an Oscar, married, and like ready to have 4 kids. Like they're going to be like rich and ready to go.
By 27? That's so late.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're like, before I'm 30, my whole life is going to be lived.
Yeah.
And then you're 27 and you aren't making a living as an actor, and maybe you've booked a couple things, but you don't have like the career that you feel like is a career yet, and you want to have kids and you want to have a house and you want to not panic about having health insurance or having an income to raise your family, or maybe you fall in love with a real person and that real person has expectations of living a life that isn't just about you and your hectic day-to-day schedule.
Oh, muggles are the worst.
I know, muggles, yeah. I have lots of best muggle friends.
They're pretty great.
They are. I just think that is a game changer that a lot of people get to, that the timeline of graduating college at 22 and thinking that you're going to have an Oscar by 27 is a really high expectation. And it's not that it can't happen, it's that it usually doesn't. And so I don't want to discourage people from dreaming, because I think dream big and aim high. Mm-hmm. I just don't want them to hate themselves when 27 happens and they're not superstars. Most people who are superstars by 27 started when they were 13. And you just don't know that when you get out here.
And often aren't happier.
Yes. Often aren't happier. Often are not.
You do recommend people quit. And so when do you know when you should quit?
I've had in my life, I can say, only a small handful of days where I've woken up in the morning and thought, is this it? Is this what my life is? I think if you have too many of those days in a row, and that starts to become your permanent life experience, or it's looking like it's getting pretty permanent, and that acting is a big part of that, then I think quit. Mm-hmm. You know, the thing about acting is that this business, this is going to sound really harsh, you guys, but it doesn't need you. Like if you were like a bioengineer and you were like, Audrey, I think I'm quitting bioengineering, I would be like, no, we need you, bioengineers. If you were like the guy who's created the crazy net in the ocean that like solves water pollution, like don't quit that guy. Stay in it.
No, come to acting. Yeah, we need you here.
Please don't ever become an actor. But the thing about acting is I actually think that people have really incredible skills and really powerful life forces. I am the biggest fans of actors and the biggest fan of my friends who are actors and the biggest fan of them as people. And whether they are acting or not, I think they are so incredible as little life beings. And if they are feeling dimmed by acting, it's just not worth it. I mean, go let your light shine in powerful ways. And all I can tell you is from all my friends who quit, they live powerful lives afterwards. They really can. And there is no shame in having spent 10 years on a profession to realize that it's not what you love. Because what I know about the pursuit of acting is it grows you and it changes you. It is like 10 years of the best therapy that you could ever get. You're more emotionally capable. You're more charismatic usually. You know, I just say like, try not to be a miserable person. And if you can like quit
and be excited
about quitting and be happy in quitting
and going forward,
and something else, then do that. If you're going to quit acting and then go teach acting in some other small town and just be grumpy about somebody that you used to be in auditions with who's now on a series, and if that feels like your likely next step in the future, that sounds like that sucks to me.
Not better.
That doesn't sound better. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't quit. That's just my particular point of view, that doesn't sound better.
All right. As the host of this show, I always ask my guests 5 questions. And since you're my guest now, yes, I will ask you these 5 questions.
Okay, good.
The first one is, what's the hardest thing about this business for you?
The hardest thing about this business is that it really grows your heart. I mean, it takes your heart and it really explodes it. I mean, it really compounds it, and that's hard because it's very emotional. Mm-hmm. And the more you learn to love this business so completely, the more it hurts to be mad at it. I mean, the disappointment that doesn't seem harder or easier. It just seems the same, but on a different level. I still get disappointed with jobs. It's just the quality of job that I get disappointed in not getting is higher. The not knowing, I've gotten over that a lot. I think that the other side of the business is way harder than the acting side. And so I feel like the not knowing what's happening doesn't feel as big of a deal.
Like in the producing side?
Yeah, producing, writing, directing, casting. That's such a shit show. And our world is like fucking cakewalk compared to what those guys have to deal with. And so it's not personal to me anymore. That feels like just part of the game. I have so much empathy for them. So those things I think most people talk about as being hard, that has gotten a lot easier for me.
So what would you say is the best thing about this business for you?
2 things. The magic. I fucking love magic, you guys. I love make-believe. Like, I love that they're like, we need rain. And somebody has created a rain machine. And then we all go and watch a rain machine rain, pretend real rain on to people in the middle of a set that literally didn't exist this time last year.
I remember being a kid and going to New York City on a big production over there, and they had these giant rain machines set up for like an entire city block of New York, and it was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I love wonder and I love magic and I love to be a part of it. The other thing is empathy. Through being other people and watching my own struggles and watching other people's struggles, I just feel for people. And I just think like it's hard to feel for people so much, but also feels like a real gift.
We know that the reason that you chose acting is because you can be loud and
right.
It gets your mother's affection.
Right.
Any other reasons why acting?
I think it's the most fun. Comedy and the tennis of comedy is so much fun to me, to work with comedic actors and just fuck around and feel the timing and find the timing and watching it hit and knowing that it hit and then watching everyone die laughing because you had a moment of inspiration that you caught on that somebody else then caught on, and you're playing tennis back and forth and it's a good game. Then you get writers who are in on the game and you get a director that's in on the game. Like, that to me is real fun. And conversely in drama, the ability to reveal myself and to let go and to allow my body and voice to be used to express terror and trauma and horror and all those things that people really struggle with, and to be able to give my body and voice to that as a channel to a writer's intentions and a director's shaping, the bravery of that and the camaraderie of that with other actors, I find to be the epitome of what is beautiful about humanity.
All right, that's a good answer.
Okay, good.
What do you wish someone had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a dreamer or a student?
I had a teacher who used to tell me that all of life becomes about getting the next job. And I thought she was just kind of being a naysaying bitch. And that's something that I could have only understood once I had experienced it. I guess what I wish people had taught me was a little bit more of, I'd say, the structure of why becoming a working actor takes a long time, so that in the taking a long time of it, I wasn't so mad at myself that it was taking so long.
Yeah.
That's part of why I'm really about transparency, is because I think there's so much publicity selling that people like with Jennifer Lawrence, right? It's like she did that Winter's Bone and suddenly she was like an overnight success. Like, Jennifer Lawrence had been here since she was 7, and I had a manager who used to rep her when she was a little girl. And so yeah, by the time she was 22, she had an Oscar. She started at 7. And that stuff is lost through publicity.
Yeah.
And so every year that goes past Jennifer Lawrence's Oscar at 22 that you don't have your Oscar, the actor usually feels like a failure. And because they feel like a failure, they get disheartened. And then because they get disheartened, they stop working hard at acting. And it's not because they don't have a work ethic. Mm-hmm. They have strong work ethics. All of my friends have strong work ethics. It's that their attitude sucks, so they don't put in the work because they are so jaded and feel like it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. And that's where I see people start to lose momentum. And I think if we were all a little bit more honest about the work that goes into it, and that it takes time for many reasons, and that time is okay and is part of the fun part, that people would have a better time along the journey. And they would have also by a lot more success. And we would also make more stuff because the potential for more stuff is infinite. Everyone wants good stuff. And if you have good stuff, people want it. But people stop making good stuff because they stop making stuff because they get sad.
What's your biggest struggle right now, personally or professionally?
Right now, I'm having some anxiety, which is exciting. Yeah, I've always been kind of an anxious person, which is why I work so hard to control certain circumstances. You know, people say I'm like so organized. I'm very organized. I was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD when I was younger, and I no longer believe that's what I had, but I was told that's what I had, and because of that, I really worked hard to organize my life because focus, I was told, was hard for me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm trying to let go of all of that control and all of that task masteriness. Mm-hmm. And that is providing a little bit of anxiety for me right now.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those leveling up things.
It feels like
from
that.
The outside.
Yeah, it feels like a leveling up. It feels like, my personal point of view about art is that great art is flow. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something I'm looking to get more into in my life. You know, it's similar to like when you're working on an acting scene and you make choices. You can make really great choices, and those choices may get you the job, but the real magic is when you're not making the choice, but it happens to you in the moment, and you follow through with it. And that, to me, is the greatness of life.
Well, it's magic, right?
That's magic. Yeah. It's not even, it's flow, you could say.
It is, but that's what magic feels like.
That is what magic feels like. It feels like you can receive the inspiration and let it go, mm-hmm. and be a facilitator of that inspiration. Yeah. And so I'm trying to do that more in life, not just in work, because it's the thing I love most about work. And so I'd love to have more of that in all of my life.
So I usually give my guests a chance to plug their social media.
Yes. I'm Audrey Moore, and my handles are Audrey Scores More on Facebook, Audrey Scores More on Instagram, Audrey Helps Actors on Instagram.
Is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm on the season finale of Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon's feud.
On FX?
On FX. I play Kathy Crawford, Joan Crawford's daughter. That by the time this airs, that probably has already come out. You can find it online. Mm-hmm. And I can't talk about the other thing that is coming out because they made me sign an NDA. I know.
Oh man, it's special.
It's
and you're
so special. But once it's out, you'll see me.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
All right, well, I'm Jesse Lumen. I'm at Jesse Lumen on everything.
Yes.
I'm even on Snapchat.
Oh, that's so
None
weird.
of your ever guests are.
I know, yeah. And Jesse is
I am a writer, director, producer extraordinaire, and VR creative director.
That's
so
right.
Hit me up.
VR standing for virtual reality for all the oldies. Jesse writes and create stories for virtual reality.
I do. Do you have anything mildly interesting that you want to tell?
Oh, yes, or mildly interesting. I love it. This is a little more than mildly interesting. I would say this is
I don't want to hear it.
Very interesting.
I'm cutting off the podcast.
Shh. This is a podcast episode that I think is really great. It's about the gender pay gap, the 70 cents to the dollar. It's called The Story of the Gender Pay Gap. And it's on a podcast called Freakonomics. If you Google the story of the gender pay gap on Freakonomics. The reason I love it is because the woman is the only and first Harvard female economist to be granted tenure at Harvard. And her life's work is the gender pay gap. So I would say she is the only one I trust qualified to talk about it, since she is in fact a woman in a male-dominated profession. She can tell you what it is and why it is, and I think that it's really interesting, and I'm excited about where that's going.
Go check that out then.
What about you, Jesse? Anything mildly interesting?
Mildly interesting. So what I would like to get people up on is there's these Ruffles, these chips. They are the best flavor. They're a little hard to find.
Oh, yes. These are so good.
They're queso flavor.
Guys,
just
listen,
means cheese, as far as I know. I'm
but
no
it's not,
expert
here's the
in
thing,
Espanol.
it's not just, I am. It's not, I love that you said Espanol. It's not just, it's not cheese flavored, you guys.
It's not.
It's
no,
like
it's not just
salsa cheese flavored. Now, but listen, there's a salsa one.
I don't like salsa.
I know. It's queso. Here's what queso is, though. Queso is a dip that you get at a party, and it's a spicy, cheesy dip. It is. It's so good. The queso flavor is really, it is where it's at. We have the best time finding them at the corner stores. Like 7-Elevens, gas stations tend to have them.
Yeah, if you go to like a weird little corner store.
I think 7-Eleven has them too.
Do they?
I think so. And then also but they're hard to find in grocery stores.
Yeah, and it literally says queso.
Target has it.
Yeah, Target has it.
That's why when I go to Target, they've got the queso.
So yeah, it has to say queso. It can't say like cheese or nacho cheese or whatever. It's the queso Ruffles. Definitely get up on that.
It's very good.
It's very good.
All right. Thanks, honey, for interviewing me.
Yeah, sure. You have to have a sign out or something. You know, like enjoy your burrito or fuck your dreams or whatever.
I'll think about it.
All right.
Here
it is. I'll think about it.
Hey guys, we have a catchphrase. Don't forget your towel. Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we have back Scott Victor Nelson, whom you might remember we started this entire series with. He was on the fence about whether or not he was going to quit or stay in the business.
I remember people in Chicago quitting and like becoming healers and things like that. And like I have other people quit and become therapists and things like that. And I was always like, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're doing that, but I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. And now I'm finally like, what else is there?
We're going to talk about how the series may have helped him or maybe not, and where he's at now. I don't have any clips for you to hear about that because we haven't recorded it yet. Just a reminder to please go on iTunes, leave a happy comment. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. It means so much to me when you guys do that. Just also wanted to let you know real quickly that after this series of acting, When Is It Time to Quit? Throwing in the acting towel, Life After Acting, we're going to begin doing independent episodes, and the first one we're going to be doing is about falling in love with the business side of acting. One of the biggest questions I always get is, how do I fall in love with the business side of acting? Most people believe it's impossible. People ask me, did I always love it? The truth is, honestly, no. I always liked getting work done, but quite honestly, I thought the business side of it was kind of really unfair and shitty. And now it's maybe my favorite part of the whole process. And so I'm going to be talking to Falk Henschel, who is an actor who I have known for so many years. He's worked his way from being a guy who really couldn't get arrested in this town to now he's going from series to movie to series to movie. He just booked a really big job that I can't say anything about, but I am very excited for him. But you may know him as Hawkman. That's what he's doing a lot of his days, is going around as Mr. Hawk. So he'll kill me for saying that. So I think it's a really great episode. He was just like me, where he really used to hate the business side of this business, and now he loves it. And as his love has grown for it, so has his career. The show is produced and edited by Jesse Lumen. He is a writer, director, producer, and virtual reality genius and wizard. If you are creating a current virtual reality experience, please look him up and get in contact with him because he is on it. Special thanks this week to me. It's the worst. And also to the wonderful Jesse Lumen for being such a wonderful interviewer. You guys give him a hand. I can't do it because I don't want to make a weird clapping noise, but yay for Jesse. Also, special thanks to Thomas Snodgrass for the mic assistance and providing us with an extra mic here and there. And special thanks to Aalok Mehta for all of his help and work on the theme song. Music this week by Ari De Niro. So we'll see you next week when we talk to Scott Victor Nelson. And remember, you guys, our catchphrase, don't forget your towel.